Cattle Call. Cattle Call? Not a name that comes up often in video games. I assure you, this is a real logo and not the worst I've seen. Debuting onto the scene with Tsugunai, a game I'd never heard of in my life. There I was scrolling through my 100% reputable video game sites when I saw this. That's quite the box art. If it was the JP one, I would have kept scrolling, but this, I'm at least interested. Looking at the screenshots, it seems to have a moody, even Kingsfield vibe to it. Anything gameplay related showing having no room for more than one party member. A From Software JRPG would be quite the mix. Very curious. I booted it up to a lovely title screen, pressed new game, and immediately knew that I had to give it at least a few hours. I also looked into the game's director, and wouldn't you know it, he has movie credits for both Kudelka and Shadow Hearts. What a small world we live in. The game opens up on a sunset-dredged sea. A rather ornate boat travels across the water filled with anxiety, with only the waves to comfort them. Well, actually it starts with you being functionally dead, but you don't even know that part yet. A knight walks up to their companion for this journey. A raven by trade, a sort of code name for skilled mercenaries. And the game's protagonist. We ignore the knight to brood at the bow of the ship. Our true feelings creep in with the music. Ooh, this is a tone I can groove with. Whatever went down here clearly went south, and now we get to experience it step by step. As we make port, the head knight clearly doesn't like us, while the younger soldier is much more courteous. He's not expecting this to be easy. Check my equipment. Surely I don't have to equip my starter gear? No, it's all here. Amulet? Settings? Oh, this is like a materia grid. Cool. I gotta give it 10 out of 10 wordless tutorial for us curious players. Not a single written line and I have my spells set and equipped. Bravissimo. Just past the harbor we have our first dead body. How these people managed to write such coherent messages on the verge of death, I will never know. Guess he had nothing better to do than to wait for the end. We were the only boat at the port after all. Second screen, second body. We soon meet our culprit. A quick tutorial for those who don't have a manual later, and we take a glance at the tower we were sent to plunder. Oh, listen to that track. In terms of opening dungeons, I think it's impossible to beat Melancholy Ruins. A listful history we get to experience firsthand. More of that fantastic sunset, bathing everything in orange. The skybox doesn't move correctly. A little bit weird. Still a great setting to ease us into the dark adventure to come. A light bridge? Tsugunai, you're spoiling me. We cross the waterfall into the sealed chamber. Giant red letters tell us to turn back. Sorry, I'm the main character.
Fight like one.
A single-member JRPG, which is what this game is, sounds like it would be a drag, endlessly rubber banding between healing and damage. I'll talk about the combat later. I assure you it has some really good ideas that kept me enjoying it for almost the entire game. Orb in hand, I tried to escape. I'm starting to think taking this shining orb from the Fear God's Retribution room was a bad idea. Found by fishermen floating in the sea, neither dead nor injured. Spirit split from your own body. It's time to figure out the mystery of the treasure orb. The monks leave to deal with some visitors, and we are left to our own devices. Alright, okay. First up, the orb. Still an orb. Okay, I'm bored. Time to leave. Oh, right, Ghost. I can't use the handle. Unless... Huh, weird. The people who hired us show up to take the orb away. Well, it's probably under better protection there anyway, considering this monastery has boarded up holes in the outer wall. They forgot to pay us, though. The head monk is shocked that we left the room. Now curious about our new powers. Wooden door? Takes no effort to walk through. Anything else? Well, that's a no-go. Good for the game to lampshade this early on, why we can't go through most things. After some digging, he tells us we have been cursed by the ordeal of God. We cannot return to our body while under its effects. The only way to reverse it is to mend the hearts of the people. Rumor has it there's a fairy living in town who will be able to guide us on the particulars. Go, my son! Heal their broken hearts so you can become whole again. I shall, father! As God is my witness, nothing shall stop me from my task! Oh, alright. Ghost. Wait, wasn't that a little roundabout, but it works. We march away from the only safe place we known, the hymns of the monks fading into the distance. What grim dark adventures await us? Not the music I would have chosen. Rather pleasant, actually. Welcome to the lovely seaside town of Wallondia, famous for its world class. Oh, the music stopped. Turn around. I don't think they export anything. It's rather self-sufficient and isolated. They have fishermen, blacksmiths, a whole quarry, small military, magic stone producing caves under the castle. Kinda like Grand Soren, but more open, and with less, you know. Who could possibly be having the sadness in such a picturesque place? It's not long before we find our target. A fairy named Navi. A coincidence, I'm sure. More interested in day drinking than helping us. Pester him enough and he gives us the lowdown. In order to do anything as a spirit, we need to possess someone. However, they must have sadness in their heart first. Been hearing that a lot lately. Follow me, I'll show you how. Now see that guy over there? This man has no sadness. So let me steal his wallet. Wait, what? Bleeding heck, my wallet's been stolen. This puts me in a right tizzy. Once you've possessed this man, go out in the world and find me a mushroom. Okay, bye. Guess what? Once you're in someone's body, until they resolve their trouble, you can't leave. This fairy has tricked me into doing a drug run for him. Good hustle. This introduces a style of gameplay that will be about 50% of your time with Tsugunai. Investigation, which immediately brings up a problem. You're an outsider to this area, and on top of that, you completely override the person you possess. Not sharing memories, personality, feelings, anything. So everyone else is now a fountain of knowledge. Thankfully, they know who you're trying to be. That, for some reason, always caught me by surprise. When possessing a town's guard, of course the local soldiers know me by name, or that I would have a working relationship with the blacksmiths. Wallondia, the town, is about 5 screens big, minus the castle and monastery, with the whole game featuring maybe 20 NPCs at most. They don't all have names, which irks me a little. Despite all having some characterization, that's Atlas for you. Honest localizations. Anyway, back to the drugs. When looking for information, it's best to start with the people around you. Although, something is already going down. Trying to ask our fellow sailors about mushrooms out of the blue causes them to look at you funny. Dude, the chief's daughter is missing. Who fucking cares about mushrooms at a time like this? Alright, sheesh. Pursuing the local item shop is a bust, though the owner says he wrote something down in his recipe book. Look upstairs and, yup, the quarry is our next destination. Once there, make a guess on which mushroom is the one we want and take it back to Navi. He then returns the guy's wallet, ending his sadness. Whoa, that was, weirdly ominous. Time to find more sadness, I guess. Ignoring the absurdity of the whole affair, the idea that you could create sadness in people so easily just to possess them, that's, couldn't use that for evil. What I love is that the game is not too dependent on flags. Flags in this context, for those who don't know, is something the game needs doing to continue a chain of events. For an easy example, let's plop in Ocarina of Time.
Plop.
At the beginning of the game, Link gets summoned to the Deku Tree, but Mido won't give us the time of day. Only a true hero with a sword and shield can get past me. Both of these objects are flags the game uses to make sure you're prepared to enter the first dungeon. And once you have both of them, you can go past. Nice and easy. Back to Tsugunai, I'm guessing the book is an essential part of this chain of events? However, that's it. If you're a savvy player, you can piece things together logically. And most of the time, not all the time, but most of it, the game trusts you to engage with the town and find stuffs by your own merits. Made seamless by the fact it stays grounded to the setting. And, if you're struggling, it gives 2 to 3 NPCs dialogue that pushes you towards your goal. As for the character, everyone tends to speak plainly. It'll take some time for any of them to stand out, which is a shame. A few still shine though. Regina, for example, she likes her men portly. Same girl. This is your life for the next 40 minutes, and about the time you're possessing a 10-year-old to go hunting for cats, you might have the thought, where did that earlier tone wander off to? In all honesty, before I finished the game, I started to believe that intro was an elaborate joke. You play as a hardened warrior, codenamed Raven, wearing all black, going into ancient ruins to spite the gods themselves. Everyone else that came before you lies dead in their own entrails. Nobody can compare to you, the ultimate badass. Only for the game to pull the rug from under you and make you a passive force in a slice-of-life anime. I assure you it does creep in the latter half. For now it is more mundane troubles. Fusella, the fisherman's daughter, having a spat with her father. Ashko, the clumsy monk with self-confidence issues that has a mean-ass roundhouse. Ifeb, a man reluctantly turned raven because of his mother's debts. These 3 will be your main characters for a while, with others in town getting mini-adventures. What do you mean the dog has sadness inside? No, this is stupid! Wait, hold on! None of the regular villagers can fight, of course. I don't think it's even possible to try to. All I remember is a piece of paper on a wall telling me that if I die in the game, I die in real life. So unless they had an equipment screen, we stayed far away from danger. If you're in this game for combat, don't worry. You'll get your fill once the game has the routine settled. One of Fusella's early tasks is looking for gemstones. Nothing a trip to the beach won't fix. And as she arrives, we see multiple Wait, who left this copy of Black Lagoon on DVD here? Did it wash up? Well, according to that one guy,
the lore of the sea means it's finders keepers.
I can't wait to show this to Wallace. Oh, fuck! Alright, it's battle time. First turn, we hit them. Second turn, they hit us. Third turn, we hit them again. That's what you expect looking at Tsugunai, right? A 2000s JRPG you've never heard of with the same boilerplate feature on the back of the box? Up to 12 mind-blowing spell effects. The devs understood that we needed something more, so first spice. Timed defense. I'll leave my rant about this type of system at the door. Suffice to say, I'm not a fan of it when it's implemented in a basic way. I don't like it when devs really lean on it to balance their game. Looking at you, Eternal Sonata. It's a basic and simple way to increase engagement with the bog standard JRPG combat, which, for some folks, gets boring quickly. So let me show you something that might interest you, stranger. Once more. That's right, we have manual counters. That alone is a rare feature. How about a block that increases your special gauge? Or a fully invincible backdash? Oh boy, we have 4 options, baby! Let's go from the top. Block. It sure is a block. Reducing damage by an insane amount. Also lasts the longest. A good old reliable for mean monsters for the first time, or when you really can't afford to take any damage. This game is on the easy side, in my opinion, but late game, holy hell! You'll need this. T.R.A.G block. A stupid name for a special meter, but what can you do? Barely reduces damage and is harder to perform. Really good for punishing projectile monsters, as it builds you more T.R.A.G, which you'll need for the backstab. Eats up 25% of your bar to completely negate any damage. A bit harder to use than you might expect thanks to the gnarly startup. But once you're gone, you're gone. Only worth it in the most dire circumstances. And the cream of the crop, the World Heavyweight Champion, Counter! Talk about a godsend mechanic! First, the downsides. It's not active for long. Miss your mark and you can kiss the floor, making it very tricky until you learn the monster's attack patterns. These enemies deserve mention for their range of attacks. Gremlins will play with you, taking their sweet time only to fake you out with a status effect, testing your mental resolve. And then the next guy is like, gotcha bitch! Not to mention you still take decent damage even if you do land the counter. With high risk, however, comes high reward. When you only have one person on the field, it's hard to understate how much this ups your damage output, as every enemy attack is now a chance for profit. The game knows this and sprinkles what feels like a 10% damage boost on any counter you land. Hell, I'm not gonna complain. I'm only one guy. It also has the wonderful property to interrupt almost every combo a monster can throw at you. Walking into an encounter and ending every attempt at damage with counters is very satisfying. It also has the side effect of dramatically speeding up these mundane battles. This is still a PS2 game, with loading both in and out of battles, character intros, result screens, you name it. Anything you can do as the player to keep the pace up and reclaim lost time is always a plus. That leads us right into Spice the Second. Combat bonuses. All of these give XP incentives to get good at time defense, or for adding that little bit of strategy on top. There's a few in here, let me just go over the important ones. First, enemy downed. Does what it says on the tin. Key note here is that it includes multiple monsters. Defeat them all with an AoE and you just got a nice chunk of XP. Counter! Yes, really. Finishing anything off with a counter nets you 20% extra XP. Rad. Magic. If you know the enemy is on its last legs, throw a spell at them for more gain. And to top it all off, the tactical bonus. Have less turns than the number of enemies. Brutal efficiency is rewarded in turn with more efficiency. Rereading through the manual, apparently there's a be at 10% of your health at the end of a fight bonus. Paper Mario Peril Strat's real? Speaking of partners, what if I were to tell you I've been lying this whole time? You were never alone. Summons are a good, if a little undercooked mechanic. Open up your amulets to see a whole grid of triangles. Each one of these slots is spaces to equip spells to carry into battle. Fill up an entire board and you create a new friend to bring along. Out of the 8 you can find, they all have 2 actions to pull from. A basic attack, some of these really hurt, and more elaborate things unique to that summon. Thing is, it's up to them what they choose to do. So sometimes they AoE a single target and that's just plain annoying, while also pulling from your MP pool to execute these attacks. My complaints aside, you want them out. Dubious decision making aside, for one it dramatically increases your DPS yet again. The devs had a lovely foresight to add a fast animation option. So we look fast, kill fast, and because this game is good, it's also added into the XP bonuses you're no doubt collecting at this point. Gotta make that number go up. Though, if you truly want to level up your game, as long as you're possessing a combat character, the training caves are open 24/7. A place to make sure you never softlock yourself level-wise, since there's no such thing as revisiting dungeons, they are all one and done. In these hallowed halls, your abilities will be tested to the Let's rip the band-aid off. Tsugunai was released in early 2001, and it shows. Whenever people say it looks like a PS2 game, this is what they're trying to say. Back when these titles felt more like games from the previous generation with a HD texture pack slapped on top of it, taking advantage of the raw resolution gain the console leap provided without using it to its full potential. And while that might be the case, I feel it misses both celebrating what the PS2 would accomplish over that year, while simultaneously not giving any credit to Tsugunai. Let me give you the exact date this game came out. February 22nd, 2001. Apparently the same date as Shadow of Destiny, oddly enough. Would you like to know what came out in the following months? Ahem. March 1st, Zone of the Enders. March 22nd, Klonoa 2. April 28th, Gran Turismo 3. July 19th, fucking Final Fantasy X. August, Parappa the Rapper 2. September, Ico. October, Kingsfield 4. November, Metal Gear Solid 2. December, Jak and Daxter's Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance and Silent Hill 2. These are just games that I think are graphical milestones or have diverse art styles. I skipped over Devil May Cry, Grand Theft Auto 3, and goddamn SSX Tricky. Once that's all taken into account, then no shit, Cattle Call, a small company founded by ex-Data East employees, couldn't compete. Maybe when all this stuff cost money 4 billion years ago, I can see kids at school being bullied for owning things like Maken Shao Demon Sword. It's okay, buddy. I'll be your friend. Want to talk about Dark Cloud? These days, I can see what it was going for. The art direction is a lot closer to Berserk than Grandia. Lots of earthy tones. I'm gonna have to talk about Grandia soon, huh? Lots of earthy tones, less colourful than its contemporaries. Character design staying relatively grounded for something of this era. If you were forced to pick a video game town to live in for the rest of your life, you might choose places like Relent, bright, breezy, cosmopolitan. Wallondia is the more historically accurate town you pray for when choice is taken away from you. It's also the worst example, I think, for first impressions. Even when the town is enshrouded in darkness, it looks like day for night. No, it looks best when it's actually dark. The torchlit cemetery, monster-infested shipwrecks, an orc fortress at night. They knew the PS2 could produce mind-boggling effects when it came to lighting, and it's at its best during. I'm definitely not saying it's peak. Please don't misunderstand me. I just want to give kudos where I think it's due. And speaking of due, this soundtrack has consistently been pretty okay. No stinkers, lovely choice of instruments. Nothing feels anachronistic, which is weird for this generation. A solid 7 out of 10. I gotta look up who did this. Oh, hello again, Yasunori Mitsuda. If you were to throw a dart at the genre of JRPGs, chances are you'll hit the toys of the rabbit. But Mitsuda is an easy runner-up. Well, not as prolific or maybe mono-franchise, if that's even a term, as his contemporaries, his voice is very strong when it does show up. His work, when combined with Yoshitaka Hiroda and Kenji Ito, as cheesy as this sounds, gave the heart in Shadow Heart's Covenant. And while Tsugunai is no Chrono Cross, what I consider his magnum opus, I know that's a little contentious, he hardly phoned it in. He put in maybe as much effort as he needed to, which means we have some really good tracks. Battle Level 1, a very inspired name, plays when the game thinks you have no chance of losing. A premature victory celebration. Complete with a section that sounds confused that we're still here. Why haven't you won yet? Early afternoon kicks in whenever you possess someone. The sound of manufactured motivation. You will solve the sadness in their hearts, no matter who or what stands in your way. And I think, subconsciously, they truly appreciate what you're doing. once all the hearts have been mended, the darkness makes its attempt to revive itself, keeping the sun from ever rising again. This is the first time the town has been quiet. The townsfolk all hide inside, the only comfort coming from candlelight. But rather than give in to despair, the music conveys a strange beauty, the calm before the inevitable storm. I have a funny feeling what we have in our hands is a compromised vision. This is a little speculation on my part. If you let the title screen idle, it plays to an attract mode that shows full art renders of the town's locations. And not like concept art, but like backgrounds you expect a little guy to run around in. Here's them again in the manual. I'm guessing this was closer to a life sim early in development. Something with a day-night cycle. The soundtrack even has file names to include morning, afternoon, night, all with the same musical motifs. Every time you mend someone's heart, you awkwardly teleport back to Navi's house, now and again referring to a nighttime that does not functionally exist. Maybe the game's direction shifted with the art, or the mechanics became unfeasible. Who knows? All we are left with is a game history would make generic through no fault of its own. The story won't help with that assessment either, but I hope at this point you can see the greater haul Tsugunai has proved to be. Now, before we jump into all that, I'll leave a courtesy spoiler. There's nothing here story-wise you haven't seen before? No. It's all in the construction. A house of cards, but instead it's made of Chekhov's guns. We good? Cool. Almost all problems can be traced back to Lord Cole, a comically evil person trying to achieve immortality through dark gods. As you do. Yeah man, seeing the missus leave my arms like that. If only we could all live forever. Yeah, then I guess you would never have to say goodbye to the ones we love. No, it means that I won't have to die. Stupid. He wants to build a sanctuary in the middle of town, situated right on top of a portal to Hades. Oh wait, maybe it is like Grand Soren. The current architect and head of the quarry, Mason, yes really, refuses. Strictly because he is worried about hitting such a portal. I guess this is a common occurrence in this world. I mean, you do deal with a lot of Hades portals in the story, now I think about it. He promptly gets replaced with a doppelganger, his body hidden in the underground cemetery. Unknown to Cole though, a raven was inside doing a little bit of grave robbing. In his escape he doused all the torches. While Cole's ploy was not discovered, flame in this world is a natural evil repellent. This causes the monastery to open up a job for any ravens to come and reunite the torches. Ifam takes it because, well, he needs the money. Remember, his mother is in debt to a local ruthless moneylender, Mills. Since all of Ifam's sadness stems from this problem, they interact in all of his quests. This, along with a trading mission, helps bring back her warmer side, eventually asking Ifam to find a sentimental item from the underground waterway. Though the monastery hides that key for some reason. Wait a second, how did that raven get into the cemetery during the royal lockdown? He had a copy of it made. Something you can find him plotting hours earlier. He's also the likely culprit of the hole in the wall we used at the very beginning. I mean, where else would he have gotten that key? While down in the waterway, Ifam stumbles across some sort of weird contraption filled with crystals, moving them with abandon. I mean, I need to get to that sketchbook, there's no other way. In the very next hour, the monastery is infested with monsters. The monks, absolutely baffled that someone could have gone down there and fucked with the evil repelling machines, when they are the only people who can go down there. Now it's your job to fix the problem you just accidentally created in trying to do good elsewhere. And that's just an example of the longest connected narrative. The game is littered with smaller setups and payoffs. The chief's daughter, Fasella, the one that went missing at the beginning, that never happened. No, she was in the training caves. Something you can easily deduce without the game even telling you that. Which it does, very bluntly, but I enjoy that you can figure that out. Mostly thanks to the god's familiarity with her. She's trying to rebel against her father, learning warfare out of spite, though she won't admit that to the people around her. Only to find out she's a very effective warrior. The only person that can be trusted to relight the lighthouse when it goes out, or to route through a zombie-infested shipwreck in search of lost cargo. Pushing herself to the absolute limit until she slips up. Her father, not wanting to lose his daughter as well, pulls out the potion he bought for his wife. The potion that he arrived with too late to make a difference. As big story beats go, it's as bland as bread, with the only outstanding feature being the main character taken out of commission. All ending with him defeating the obvious big bad once it gets summoned, bringing peace to Walondia. However, in my opinion, it's how the town and events are woven that really elevate everything up to a base level of pleasantly surprising. There's even an unintentional, creepy aspect to the protagonist's actions. A sailor notes that sometimes the people around him become perfect strangers, devoid of the person he knows, only for them to shrug off any questions of where they were or what happened. They don't remember anything while being piloted, apart from your influence. And once the main character has his body back, talking with the people you've possessed has them unnaturally open up to you, hanging on your every word. A fabricated relationship that could unintentionally be used for evil. It's implied that Vasella and the protagonist are maybe more than friends at the end of the game. Is this her true feelings of an outside warrior? Someone different from the humdrum life she knows? Or his influence over multiple possessions? It's both interesting and a little disturbing. The fact that it's left open enough for me to ask these questions. Did he forge these connections out of a selfish desire to return to his own body? Was my actions truly rooted in good? For the record, I think this is all subtext. I doubt the devs put this in, but it's incredibly fun to think about. And that's all I ask from a game story, honestly. To be engaged. It shouldn't surprise you that Tsugunai was not much of a sales juggernaut. According to VG charts, which can sometimes be a little off the mark, it moved 60k copies. That sounds about right. Catacol is still around as a satellite studio for other big companies, and they did make 2 games in the Arc the Lad series. I've never touched them, but now I'm a little more interested, mostly because I wish there was a Tsugunai 2. This is a game that's screaming out for a refined sequel. A dark chronicle, if you will. I'm imagining a sequel with dueling spirits. You are both aware of each other, but one's trying to do good and one's trying to do evil. Both of them manipulating this village for goals only known to them. The things it tried and did greatly outnumber its flaws. One of which is just being the sin of an early game in the PS2 lifespan. A lovely marriage of adventure game and JRPG. Maybe one of those Arc games is what I'm really looking for. Who knows? If what I've shown speaks to you, please try it. In terms of low-stakes cozy RPGs, it is an easy grab. And let's be honest here, you're not paying for it anyway. The games you find just because the box art looks rad. If there's one thing I miss about the old days, is the shelves lined up with mystery games. The Great Neutralizer. Masterpiece or complete dud? Man, was that a sick piece of art. Even if the last boss was an overpowered piece of shit. Hello and welcome to the end of the video, where it's not soundproof because my dog is currently using my blanket. This video was a bit of a doozy for me at times. First I was hit by some minor ailments, all of which were very fun, I assure you. And the other problem was a little crisis of faith. It wasn't until a slow week of progress and me reviewing what I made that showed me I knew what I was doing. I've talked about this before, I don't really worry about imposter syndrome. If I got hit by something like that, I can just watch the Kingdom Hearts video. However, worrying about the quality of my work is a constant. That thankfully goes away once I make a joke I really like. A lot of the humor in my videos are improvised, and stuff like that Motoi Sakuraba bit reminds me that, oh, it's so back baby, confidence is rock solid! What else? Do you like Let's Plays? A close buddy of mine and alleged face owner, Goobula, wanted to start one in current year. So we did. Channel is FuzzyKeyBiz, and currently has an Onimusha 1 playthrough trickling in. If you want to hear about Ninja Gaiden or the ethics of Let's Play, give us a follow. Goob is in charge of the channel and makes the thumbnails. And how could you skip over something like this? This is art, I tell you. Art! He also has a channel, and I think you should watch his Beyond Good and Evil video. Just saying. I think that about covers everything. Shout out to the wonderful people that support me in all that I do. I'll never say no, but all I ask is that you take care of yourselves first. I'm doing fine. Catch you all in a very belated Parasite Eve 2 video coming in 2027.